Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the glamorous, scandalous, and ever-dramatic world of Los Angeles fashion and family feuds. Today is a fantastic day to unpack the latest explosive rumors that threaten to shatter the Forrester and Finnegan families forever. Let us get right into the heart of the drama. The hallowed halls of Forrester Creations have always been a sanctuary for high fashion, brilliant designs, and family triumphs, but they are also a fortress built on a foundation of devastating secrets. Right now, the most explosive secret of all is locked behind the closed doors of the executive suite, shared only between Steffy Forrester Finnegan and Carter Walton. In a moment of profound vulnerability, shared grief, and heavy intoxication, the two crossed the ultimate line. Steffy was reeling from the trauma of discovering that her husband, John Finn Finnegan, had hidden Sheila Carter's presence on his commercial flight to Monaco. Feeling utterly betrayed, Steffy threw her wedding ring at Finn on the French Riviera and fled back to Los Angeles. Simultaneously, Carter was drowning in absolute despair after his wife, Daphne Rose Walton, received a devastating premature menopause and infertility diagnosis from Dr. Lee Finnegan. Believing she was holding Carter back from his lifelong dream of fatherhood, Daphne packed her bags for Paris. The collision of Steffy's shattered marriage and Carter's broken heart culminated in a passionate, drunken affair in the CEO office. Now, they have made a desperate pact to bury their indiscretion forever, but in the world of daytime drama, the truth refuses to stay buried. Despite their mutual agreement to maintain a strict vow of silence, the psychological weight of their betrayal is proving to be far too heavy for either Steffy or Carter to carry gracefully. Recent spoilers and circulating rumors suggest that the two simply cannot keep their distance from one another. They are constantly drawn into hushed, panicked conversations in the corners of Forrester Creations, desperately whispering about their guilt and the absolute necessity of keeping their spouses in the dark. Carter has already had to lie directly to Ridge Forrester's face when the patriarch caught them in a heated, panicked argument, feeding Ridge a fabricated story about giving Steffy marital advice. But these clandestine meetings are becoming increasingly reckless. Steffy and Carter are playing a highly dangerous game of corporate roulette, and it appears their luck is about to run out in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. According to the latest shocking leaks from the set of The Bold and The Beautiful, Steffy and Carter are about to be caught red-handed during one of their intense, secretive rendezvous where they are frantically discussing the details of their illicit night together. An unexpected eavesdropper will be lurking in the shadows, listening to every single damning word. The identity of this unseen observer is the subject of intense speculation, and the implications of this discovery are nothing short of apocalyptic for the Forrester, Finnegan, and Walton families. The walls of Forrester Creations have ears, and the truth about the CEO and the Chief Operating Officer's scandalous betrayal is about to fall into the hands of someone who can inflict maximum damage. The prime suspect for the shadowy eavesdropper is none other than the ultimate manipulator herself, Sheila Carter. Ever since the catastrophic events in Monaco, where Steffy spotted her on the beach and unleashed her absolute fury, Sheila has been conspicuously absent from the canvas. She returned to Los Angeles utterly defeated, heartbroken over her inability to secure a place in the lives of her biological son, Finn, and her grandson, Hayes. Sheila dropped to her knees in the hospital, begging Steffy for a sliver of mercy, only to be fiercely and cruelly rejected. We know that a rejected, isolated Sheila is a highly dangerous Sheila. She is currently festering in her own dark obsession, desperately yearning to rip the SINN marriage apart so she can finally claim Finn for herself. If Sheila Carter is the one hiding in the foliage or loitering just outside the cracked door of the executive office, she is about to be handed the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. For years, Steffy has held herself up as the paragon of virtue, constantly demanding absolute purity, honesty, and loyalty from Finn. Steffy has repeatedly threatened to end her marriage over Finn's perceived betrayals regarding his biological mother. If Sheila overhears Steffy confessing to sleeping with Carter Walton, the sheer hypocrisy of the situation will be the greatest gift Sheila has ever received. Sheila would not hesitate for a single second to march straight to her son and detonate this nuclear secret. Exposing Steffy's infidelity with the Forrester coup would instantly shatter Finn's idealized image of his wife, inevitably destroying their marriage and clearing the path for Sheila to step in as the comforting maternal figure Finn would desperately need in his grief. However, Sheila is not the only person who might be lurking in the shadows of Forrester creations. Another highly plausible and equally devastating candidate for the eavesdropper is Daphne Rose Walton. Daphne's journey has been marked by profound emotional trauma recently. Her severe infertility diagnosis plunged her into a functional depression, leading her to the agonizing decision to leave Carter and move to Paris so he could find a woman who could give him children. But Daphne experienced a sudden change of heart, returning from the airport to fight for her marriage, completely oblivious to the fact that her husband had just crossed the ultimate physical line with her best friend. Since her return, Daphne has been fiercely committed to exploring alternative family options with Carter, but she is highly intuitive and deeply connected to her husband's emotional state. Daphne has already begun to notice that Carter's behavior is highly erratic and uncharacteristically distant. He is drowning in a sea of guilt, struggling to look his wife in the eye while she innocently praises Steffy and Finn's marriage as the gold standard of romance. Carter's bizarre reactions, his sudden bouts of panic, and his desperate need to pull Steffy aside for private conversations are raising massive red flags for Daphne. A wife knows when her husband is hiding something monumental, and Daphne's growing suspicions might compel her to launch her own private investigation. If Daphne decides to follow Carter or unexpectedly drops by Forrester Creations to surprise him, she might be the one who overhears the devastating truth about what happened on the night she tried to leave for Paris. If Daphne is the one who uncovers the secret, the emotional fallout will be catastrophic on multiple levels. This would not merely be the discovery of a cheating husband. It would be the ultimate, unforgivable double betrayal. Steffy Forrester is not just Carter's boss. She is Daphne's closest confidant, the woman who stood by her side and offered profound emotional support when Dr. Lee Finnegan delivered the heartbreaking early menopause diagnosis. To learn that her husband and her best friend engaged in a passionate affair while she was paralyzed by the grief of her infertility would completely destroy Daphne's world. The psychological cruelty of this double cross would undoubtedly unleash a wrath within Daphne that the Forrester family has never seen, turning a loyal friend into a fierce, heartbroken adversary. Steffy Forrester is demonstrating an astonishing level of foolishness and hubris if she truly believes she can indefinitely hide this massive betrayal from Finn. Finn is currently operating under the delusional belief that his wife's severe anxiety and stress are entirely related to his own mistakes regarding Sheila Carter. He has been continuously praising Steffy for her unwavering honesty and her pure heart, twisting the knife of guilt deeper into Steffy's conscience with every loving word. Steffy has already come dangerously close to confessing the truth to Finn, unable to bear the suffocating weight of her hypocrisy, but she always chickens out at the last possible second. Living this lie is slowly eroding Steffy's mental health and her foolish belief that the secret of her night with Carter can remain buried in the Forrester CEO office is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. As if the impending exposure of the affair were not enough to completely upend the canvas of the bold and the beautiful, the rumor mill is churning out a secondary, even more explosive twist to this storyline. Speculation is running rampant that the consequences of Steffy and Carter's drunken night of passion will extend far beyond mere guilt and exposure. Whispers from set insiders suggest that the writers are gearing up for a massive pregnancy storyline. In the ultimate soap opera twist of fate, Steffy Forrester Finnegan may soon discover that she is expecting a child, throwing both the Finnegan and Walton marriages into a state of absolute, irreversible chaos. A pregnancy would immediately force the darkest secret of Forrester creations out into the blinding light of day. Steffy would be thrust into a terrifying medical and moral dilemma requiring a high-stakes DNA paternity test to determine whether the father of her unborn child is her devoted husband, John Finnegan, or her illicit lover, Carter Walton. The agonizing wait for the DNA results would push Steffy to the brink of a psychological breakdown. If the child belongs to Finn, Steffy might desperately try to pass the pregnancy off as a miraculous blessing, burying her sins forever. But if the DNA test confirms that Carter Walton is the biological father, the truth can no longer be hidden, and the destruction of her life with Finn will become an absolute certainty. However, the genius of this rumored storyline lies in the tragic, twisted connection to Daphne Rose Walton's current medical crisis. Daphne is utterly desperate for a baby, paralyzed by the grief of her premature menopause diagnosis, and mourning the loss of the family she so desperately wanted to build with Carter. Carter's deepest, most profound desire in life has always been to become a father. If Steffy is pregnant with Carter's child, it creates an agonizingly complex moral puzzle. Could this unexpected, scandalous pregnancy somehow become the twisted solution to Daphne and Carter's infertility nightmare? The speculation suggests that Steffy, in a state of absolute panic and desperation to save her marriage to Finn, might concoct an unthinkable plan. Could Steffy secretly carry the child and act as a surrogate, ultimately giving the baby to Carter and Daphne? In Steffy's panicked, guilt-ridden mind, this might seem like the perfect, albeit deeply flawed, solution. She could provide her best friend, Daphne, with the child she is physically unable to conceive, fulfilling Carter's lifelong dream of fatherhood, while simultaneously hiding the true, scandalous nature of the baby's conception from Finn and the rest of the world. Steffy could mask the pregnancy as a selfless act of surrogacy or egg donation for her dear friends, manipulating the narrative to appear heroic rather than adulterous. This potential surrogacy twist would propel the bold and the beautiful into uncharted emotional territory. The psychological horror of Steffy carrying her lover's child only to hand it over to the woman whose husband she slept with is a master class in daytime drama tragedy. How could Daphne ever look at the child without eventually sensing the biological truth? How could Carter raise a child with his wife, knowing the baby is a product of his ultimate betrayal with Steffy? And how could Steffy, a fiercely protective mother, simply hand over her own flesh and blood to live just a few miles away, forever a reminder of her greatest sin? The emotional ramifications of such a plot would be staggering. Daphne, who is currently exploring IVF and egg donor options, might be overwhelmed with gratitude if Steffy offered to help them build their family. But building a family on a foundation of such a monstrous lie is a recipe for absolute disaster. If Daphne were to ever discover that the child she is raising is not the product of a clinical donation, but rather the result of her husband and her best friend's drunken infidelity, the psychological destruction would be unparalleled. The betrayal would transcend marital infidelity and venture into the realm of profound emotional abuse. As the tension mounts in Los Angeles, the clock is ticking on Steffy and Carter's dark secret. Whether it is the sinister, calculating Sheila Carter lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike and destroy the sin marriage, or the intuitive, heartbroken Daphne Rose Walton piecing together the bizarre behavior of her husband, the truth is coming. The hushed whispers in the corridors of Forrester Creations cannot remain silent forever. With the looming threat of a scandalous pregnancy and a twisted surrogacy cover-up, the stakes have never been higher. The fallout from this single night of drunken passion is destined to leave a trail of shattered vows, broken friendships, and forever altered families in its wake. Fans must brace themselves because the explosion that is about to rock Forrester Creations will be felt for generations to come.